Call to order. Welcome to the Laramie City Council regular meeting for Tuesday, March 18th, 2025. If you will, join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. City Clerk, if you can please call the roll.
Bowling.
Present.
Freed, absent. Lockhart.
Here.
Newman.
Here.
O'Doherty.
Here.
Shumway.
Here.
V. Hill, absent. Richardson.
Here.
And Cumby.
Here.
We have 7 present and 2 absent, Your Honor.
Thank you, City Clerk. We do have a quorum. Next, I would like to open it up for public comment on non-agenda items. Is there anyone that would like to speak? Seeing none. I would like to go to, this is a new section that we recently passed that allows the public to look at the agenda and determine if there are non-agenda, if there are consent items that you would like moved to the regular agenda. The difference would be that once an item moves from the consent agenda, usually we put small things on there, things that have gone through their first 2 readings and it's the final reading, there's been no controversy. If there were an item that you wanted discussed that was on consent agenda, you would be able to move it to the regular agenda so that it, and if approved by council and brought up as a motion, it would be brought to that regular agenda for discussion. So this is the first time we've done it. That's why I took this time to explain that. I won't do it every time. Is there any, what?
City Clerk.
Oh, City Clerk, am I out of order?
No, Mayor.
No.
You could continue. I was just going to let you know that you do have a hand raised online from Brett Glass.
Okay, about this item. I'm asking now, is there any public request to remove a consent agenda item and place it on the regular agenda? And is Mr. Glass asking to come in at this time? Okay. Good evening, Mr. Glass. Do you have an item that you wish to be moved to the regular agenda? That's what's on the table right now.
Yes, Honorable Mayor Cumby. I actually mentioned this to you last night. I'm wondering if council would be willing to just give a short bit of discussion to item what's now 9G on the consent agenda, the design of the 3rd Street corridor.
Is there anyone wanting to move that? Thank you, Mr. Glass. That request has been declined. Next, Vice Mayor, if you can please set the consent agenda.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that 9J and 9K be stricken from the agenda.
Do I have a second on that?
Second.
Motion by Richardson, and I believe second by Lockhart. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Vice Mayor?
I move that the agenda be approved as amended.
Do I have a second on that?
Second.
Motion by Richardson, second by Newman. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes. Next, we'll move on to, I don't think we have any proclamations or presentations this evening, so we'll go to the city mayor, the city clerk, for public hearing. And the way we're going to do this, since we do have 5 public hearings, the city clerk will read the first 3, items 6B1 through 6B3, which are related to planning issues, planning items. Then, after those 3 are read, I will ask for public comment on each, one at a time. And after receiving that, we will go on to the next 2 public hearing items. And after the city clerk reads those, I will open each for public discussion on that. City clerk.
Mayor, the first notice has the first 4 public hearings.
Oh, it's the first 4 and then just 1 left?
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we'll do the 4 related to planning and then the last one. So, city clerk, please begin.
Notice is hereby given that a public hearing of the Laramie City Council will be held at 6:30 p.m. on March 18th, 2025, in City Council Chambers, Laramie City Hall, 406 Ivinson Avenue, Laramie, Wyoming. The meeting shall be held with both online Zoom and in-person option to take public comments on the following: Original Ordinance Number 2102, amending Laramie Municipal Code, Title 15.22, for a modification that would affect all existing billboards within city limits. This text amendment request has been made by Lamar Advertising. Next, Plat-24-0003, Spring Creek Village, third filing final plat, proposing 24 residential lots on a 2.5 acre tract located north of Boswell Drive and west of 9th Street, zoned B1 ROB, submitted by Spring Creek Storage LLC. Attention, James Stephen. Next, we have A-24-0001. The applicant, Tom Willis, on behalf of Wilco Land LLC, a South Dakota LLC, is requesting an annexation for the 15.793 acre hilltop parcel accessed by Hilltop Drive. This parcel is currently an Albany County island and is surrounded by the city of Laramie. The parcel proposed for annexation is generally located in the northeast portion of the city of Laramie between 15th Street, Beaufort Street, and 22nd Street. The final item is RZNE 24-0001, in conjunction with the annexation of the Hilltop Lot, A-24-001. The Hilltop property is being proposed to be rezoned as R1 single-family residential if annexed, as this matches the surrounding neighborhoods. The lot proposed for rezoning is generally located in the northeast portion of the city of Laramie between 15th Street, Beaufort Street, and 22nd Street, and is accessed by Hilltop Drive. All applications, plans, and specifications relative to these matters are available for review at the City of Laramie Planning Office office at 405 Grand Avenue, Laramie, Wyoming. Anyone wishing to be heard should be present at the City Council chambers or via Zoom webinar 879-1203-2943, passcode 494515. Written comments may be mailed to City Council, care of City of Laramie Planning Office, P.O. Box C, Laramie, Wyoming, 82073. For questions or information, contact City Planning at the address above, by telephone at 307-721-5207, or by email at planning@cityoflaramie.org. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, City Clerk. So I'm going to ask first, are there any comments on public hearing original ordinance number 2100 approving and authorizing the annexation of approximately 15.79 acres of property? Any public comment? Online, City Clerk?
I see none online, Mayor.
Seeing none, I'll go to the second. Public hearing, original ordinance 2101, amending the City of Laramie's official zoning map to zone a newly annexed parcel of land located off Hilltop Drive. Do I have any public comment? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. If you can come to the podium, you have 3 minutes for your comments, and if you can state your name for the record.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Cumby. I'm Chip Kobolnicki. I'm a resident next to the proposed property to be annexed and rezoned. Thank you, City Council, for your service to our community. I previously emailed the City Council some comments, and it's probably premature, but as a neighbor, we're just looking at the development, which we understand is probably inevitable for this property, and that's understandable given the need for housing in our community. We just want to see it proceed in a smart way, particularly in a way that preserves the historic nature of the hill, the W that has been there for over 100 years, that greeted the train travelers when they arrived in Laramie. Even though it's not visible, there's a certain historic aspect to the hill that the neighborhood and the city, I think, should recognize. And just also the fact that that space has been used by both animals and humans as open space and as a way over this hill north to south for a long time, and that for lack of parks and open space in our part of the community, I hope that future developments would consider some open space, some public space, an acre of park or something like that in that space that would preserve some of that access for people to view the sunsets, the fireworks, the wildlife, the night sky. That would just contribute to our quality of life in the neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, and I did appreciate your letter. I found it very informative, and I learned a lot from it, so thank you. Next. Welcome.
Thank you.
You have 3 minutes, and if you could state your name for the record.
My name is Mark Odell. I also live adjacent on 17th Street. 2057 is my address. The question I have and the comment that I have, other than to reinforce that, W Hill has been there, oh gosh, 100 years for sure. We have deer in our back in there every day. Hawks, wildlife. I really would like to see that developer commit some of that land to some sort of park. I know that there are some, I don't know the correct word, but requirements from the city to have green space. I'd like to see that addressed. The other thing I'd like to see addressed is right now it's before you as R1. I'd like to see that changed to residential rural, which is a bigger lot. But I'm saying this because in the paperwork that I read, there is some concern about water pressure up there. If you have more houses, that's more of a problem than if you have less houses up there. And I believe the city considered this, but dismissed it. But that land is a block and a half from the edge of town. So it falls within that kind of perimeter. So, thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Further comment? Good evening.
Good evening. I'm Mary Lubaski, and I live on North 17th, also adjacent to that property. And as you move forward looking at this, one of the huge issues that I feel has to be addressed in the planning is drainage. That drainage, on North 17th, there are no storm sewer drains, nothing. All of that water is going to have to go at least down to 15th Street. So as the city considers it, whatever the designations are, drainage is huge, in my opinion.
Thank you, Ms. Lubaski. Any other comments?
We do have a hand raised online from Brett Glass.
Okay, if you can bring Mr. Glass in, please.
Honorable Mayor, members of council, I'll be quick. I've already emailed you about this. I would like to echo the concerns of the residents there about increased density. One of the things that I've encountered when I've talked to people who are looking to move businesses to Laramie or seeking housing in Laramie is that they're looking for neighborhoods with less density. There are lots of areas in Laramie that are zoned R1, but there are relatively few that are zoned LR. As well as rural, not many zoned rural residential. I think that you should consider a less dense zoning, and maybe if rural residential seems too much of a stretch, you should at least do LR. This would decrease congestion because there really is only one road up there, and it would also I think it would also fill the need for the kind of housing that the people are seeking. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Glass. We appreciate your comments. Seeing no further comments, I'll move on to number 3. Public hearing original ordinance number 2102, amending Laramie Municipal Code, Title 15.22, for the allowance of digital billboards within the city limits. Do I have any public comment on this public hearing at this point? Yes, Chris, if you can come to the podium, please.
Hi, Christopher Stratton, Laramie 24/7. I think that you guys really should amend to this because Cheyenne, you go in, you have the signs, they're not a distraction, they're not anything like that, but you do see all of these small businesses that are able to utilize those, whereas the current signs that we have that are going to be up forever and a day anyway, it is cost prohibitive, and also on the aspect of waste, etc., those signs don't get changed out that often because it costs so much, and then they actually have to strip all of that off, put the new one up, and all of that goes into the trash. So I think it would be a great idea, especially for small businesses, etc., that we can get the advertisement out there, and the aspect that they're giving you guys a section for it so that you can get people to come to city council meetings. You can put all of those wonderful items that we have that we're not getting out to the community. It's a perfect way to get them out to the community. And that's all that I have to say on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stratton. We appreciate your comments. Any further comment? Moving. Oh.
We do have a hand raised from Brett Glass online.
Yes, if you can bring him in.
Honorable
Good
Mayor.
evening, Mr. Glass.
Yes, Honorable Mayor and members of council, this is actually the item that I came mainly to comment on. I would like to echo everything that Chris said. I think we do need to advertise small businesses, and that's a great way to do it. But I would like to add one thing to Chris's recommendation. I would like to see the sign code liberalized sufficiently that we can have some competition. It will be less expensive somewhat for small businesses to advertise if you have these boards because they rotate the messages, but there would be even more savings potentially for businesses if competition drove the price of space down. So maybe not tonight if you're going to go ahead and pass this through, but maybe there's time for an amendment. I'd like to see if you can make provisions for other companies besides Lamar to come in and do the same thing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Glass. Further comment? Seeing none. Public hearing, Spring Creek Village, third filing, final plat. Are there any public comments on this public hearing? Seeing none. City Clerk, if you could read our final public hearing.
Notice is hereby given that a public hearing of the Laramie City Council will be held Tuesday, March 18th, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. at 406 Ivinson Avenue, Council Chambers, and via Zoom. Passcode 494515, webinar ID 879-1203-2943. The Wyoming Business Council is seeking grant and loan applications from counties, incorporated cities, towns, joint powers boards, and tribes for the Business Ready Community BRC, Business Committed Grant and Loan Program. The intent of this program is to ready a community for a new business development through the economic and educational development projects, which may include but not limited to water, sewer, streets, and roads, telecommunications, airports, purchase of rights of way, purchase of land, buildings, facilities, industrial and business parks, industrial site, or business district development, amenities within a business or industrial park, landscaping, recreational, and convention facilities, and or other physical projects. The rules governing BRC grant and loan program are available on the Wyoming Business Council's website, wyomingbusiness.org. The City of Laramie proposes to apply to the BRC Business Committed Grant and Loan Program to support the construction of the Saffron Passenger Innovations LLC expansion project in the Cirrus Sky Tech Park, and is seeking citizen input regarding this project. Those wishing to comment on this project are encouraged to attend the public hearing on the subject on March 18th, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. Citizens can also submit written comments by 5:00 p.m. on March 18th, 2025 to the City Manager's Office, P.O. Box C, Laramie, Wyoming, 82073. For questions or information, contact the City Manager's Office at the address above, by telephone at 307-721-5226, or by email to cmo@cityoflaramie.org. The City of Laramie will take all comments made at the public hearing and written comments submitted on or before the deadline into consideration before considering a resolution in support of submitting an application for a 2025 BRC Business Committed Grant and Loan Program Award. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, City Clerk. Is there any comment on the public hearing for the submittal of an application to the Wyoming Business Council, Business Ready Community, Business Committed Grant and Loan Program to support the construction of the Saffron Passenger Innovations LLC? Yes. Good evening, Megan. If you can state your full name.
You bet. Good evening, Mayor. My name's Megan Getz. My address is 501 Garfield here in Laramie. I was not here for your meeting for purposes of this public hearing, but it's very nostalgic. Your city manager and I believe it was 15 years ago, went before the Business Council and obtained the largest ever business-ready community grant for the purposes of developing Sierra Sky Park. It is really exciting to see the progress and the changes that that park has brought to our community and the council's desired abilities and willingness to access the Business Ready program through the Business Council. So thank you for continuing to believe in that project, which is really going to be and already is a pivotal point of our community. So
Thank you, Ms. Getz. We appreciate your comment. Any other comments? Seeing none, we will begin the rest of the meeting. Announcements, City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. We have one announcement. Well, we did.
I'm back there giving some extra time.
Sorry, Tom.
Honorable Mayor, City Council, I wanted to take this time to let everyone know that we're moving forward with the First Street project, which is contemplating changes to parking at Depot Park, or the Depot parking lot along First Street in the corridor between Garfield and Park, and then some ADA accessibility issues at the Depot Park itself. So we're planning initially to have the first public meetings on April 3rd, 11 to 1 and 5 to 7, and then there'll also be an opportunity to schedule individual meetings with the design team, if you wish, between 1 o'clock and 5 o'clock. So we'll have that information out along with a survey. So be looking for that information to come out here soon. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I just would like to comment that our last public meeting, town hall, to present information was very well attended, and there was a lot of robust conversation and questions. So I urge you all to put that on your calendar, April 3rd. City Manager.
Thank you. Concluding our announcements, we'd like to acknowledge our Employee of the Month. Mayor, if you're ready for that.
We are ready.
Okay, thank you. It's my honor this evening to talk to you about a utility maintenance operator number 2 in our utility section, and that is Dakota Hartman. I know he and some of his colleagues are here this evening. So let me tell you a little bit about why Dakota is the Employee of the Month, or our rock star, as we like to say. He was nominated by 2 of his coworkers, utility maintenance worker Morgan Williams and also distribution crew leader Sam Schuler. Both note that he is an exceptionally hard worker and has a great attitude and a lot of energy when he gets woken up in the middle of the night to go work on water breaks. So that is a notable and desirable attitude to have in the utility section, particularly in the middle of winter when a water line never breaks in the middle of the warm day, but only in the evening, in the dark, in the cold, right? Dakota's been with us since July of 2023. He originally came on temporarily as part of our lead and copper project, which I know you council members are familiar with, but determined that he wanted to continue on in a full-time role. A few things about Dakota. He's been working on his CDL and his level 1 and 2 distribution and collection certifications. It's not always known to the public that our folks in utilities really do have to study, and they take on a lot of additional training and education to retain those certifications through the Wyoming Department of Environmental Quality. Dakota says he appreciates how unpredictable his days can be, and he notes that he oftentimes has to move, drop what he's doing to move on to other unexpected duties that typically often happen when we have the most extreme weather changes, right? So back to, unfortunately, some of the difficult work that these folks do to keep the water system running and functional, even when the rest of us are cuddled up inside in a blanket trying to stay warm. Jakota's native of Laramie. His parents are TJ and Ron, and he was a local scout, both a Boy Scout and an Eagle Scout, so very involved in the local scouting community. And I would also like to acknowledge that he is also one of our wildland firefighters working, I believe, with the Vitavut district. So a fun hobby, I guess, but also a hobby serving the public in a really important way. So with that, I'd like to invite Jakota to come up and just say hi to you all, and you guys can put a face to the name.
Hello, council members. I thank you for acknowledging me this evening. I appreciate the work that you do and the forethought and planning that you help to facilitate by bringing these agenda items to our community and opening them up to public opinion. Do you have any questions for me?
I think Councilor O'Doherty does.
We're hoping to get to the point where we don't have breaks in the middle of the night. That wouldn't disappoint you too much, would it, if they happened during work hours?
It wouldn't be disappointing at all. I'd very much like it if we didn't have as many and if they were less frequent and we actually had an easier time fixing them. But unfortunately, that isn't the case with our aging infrastructure, which we are slowly putting forward more and more plans to upgrade and put in new pipes so that we don't have this issue as often.
Thank you. Jakota, would you like to come up and have a picture with council?
Yes, please.
Okay. Nancy will help guide you. And would you like your parents to come up too? Your family?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, man.
So
Okay.
now turn around. There you go.
Okay, all right.
Move back just a little bit to
Back over here.
here. There you go.
Back over.
All right, 1, 2, 3.
All right. Thank you for your service.
I find it easier to keep a positive attitude throughout my job.
Always a heartwarming moment. Councilors, are there any disclosures and/or conflicts of interest by city council members? Councilor Newman.
Just one disclosure on item 11 that I did talk with Megan Getz on the agenda item and the motion that I'll be making tonight and why, and that happened on 312 and 313.
Thank you, Councilor. Any other? Seeing none, Vice Mayor Richardson.
Thank you, Mayor. Excuse me. I move that the consent agenda be approved as changed and that each specific action on the consent agenda be approved as indicated.
Second.
Motion by Richardson, second by Shumway. Call the roll.
Bowling.
Yes.
Freed. Absent. Lockhart.
Yes.
Newman.
Yes.
O'Doherty.
Yes.
Shumway.
Yes.
Vigil. Absent. Richardson.
Yes.
Cumby.
Yes.
That's 7 yeses, 0 nos, and 2 absent, Your Honor.
Thank you. That motion passes. Item 11, Councilor Newman.
I move to approve original ordinance number 2102 on first reading, amending Laramie Municipal Code Title 15.22 to permit modifications to non-conforming billboards as shown in the ordinance amendment in accordance with findings of fact and conclusions of law.
Do I have a second?
I second that.
We have a motion by Councilor Newman, a second by Councilor Lockhart. Yes, City Clerk.
Mayor, if I could just clarify if it's the ordinance attachment or the ordinance amendment?
Attachment, sorry, did I say amendment?
Yeah, I just want
attachment.
to clarify. Thank you.
Okay. Councilor Newman.
Thank you, Your Honor. I move to postpone first reading of original ordinance number 2102 until May 20th, 2025, and to schedule a joint work session with Planning Commission for April 22nd.
Second.
I have a motion by Newman, a second by Richardson. Councilor Newman.
If I may, could I make a comment on my motion?
Continue, please.
So the reason for this is there were too many questions at the last meeting, and I think to keep this brief, and instead of suspending the rules, we need to just have a work session on this. The reason for inviting Planning Commission is they denied this. Obviously, my recommendation was to approve it. So I want to just make sure that both boards are the City Council and their board is all in favor for this, and we can work as one to get this passed.
Thank you, Councilor. Mr. Gabathiller, you have a comment or?
Honorable Mayor, I was just ready to present on the item if it.
Okay. Well, is there any, we have a motion to postpone. Is there any question or discussion? Is there any discussion on this from council members? Councilor Richardson.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate the postponing and feel like a work session would be helpful. My question is, how often, City Manager, do we bring in one of the committees to do a joint work session? Can you just provide a little bit more background and what this would look like and that sort of thing?
Mayor, through you, I'd be happy to, Vice Mayor Richardson, and I would invite the Economic Development, Community Development Director to back me up if I miss anything. It is not unusual for council to meet a few times a year with a board or commission in a joint fashion, particularly when we might be working an issue that is within that board or commission's policy or actual realm of work that they do within their scope of work, if you will. To me, this might be just a little different than what I can remember historically, only because this issue has been reviewed and voted on by the Planning Commission. So in some regard, that's a little different, but it's not completely out of the realm of possibility. And Derek, did you want to add anything? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, City Manager. Any other comment or Councilor Newman?
I guess I should have addressed that too, if I may. So
Continue.
I talked to a couple of the members of Planning Commission, and the way that the ordinance is written is why they denied it, but they were for a discussion on approving it if we amend it.
Thanks.
Thank you, Councilor. Further questions or comments? Seeing none, City Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Public comment.
Public. Do we have any public comment on the motion to postpone? Seeing none, City Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Bowling.
Aye.
Freed, absent. Lockhart.
Yes.
Newman.
Aye.
O'Doherty.
Yes.
Shumway.
Yes.
Behill, absent. Richardson.
Yes.
Cumby.
Aye.
That's 7 yeses, 0 nos, and 2 absent, Your Honor.
Thank you, City Clerk. That motion passes. Item 12, Councilor O'Doherty.
I move to approve Resolution 2025-22, supporting the submission of an application to the Wyoming Department of Agriculture for a 2025 Emergency Insect Management Program grant in the amount of $53,952 to support the City of Laramie's mosquito control program and implementation of the City of Laramie West Nile virus prevention plan, and authorize the mayor and clerk to sign.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Do I have a second? I have a motion from O'Doherty, second Richardson. Good evening, Director Bork.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council. Tonight, we have our 21st time that we've applied for, or that we're asking to apply for this grant. And as you can see from our summary, this is for the Wyoming Department of Agriculture for the Emergency Insect Management Grant for mitigation of the vector mosquitoes that carry West Nile virus. This is a 50-50 grant match, so we would be providing the match through our mosquito control program budget. And so the total amount would be just over $106,000, almost $107,000, $108,000 total. And as you can see, it's really broken into two separate areas for both salaries and pesticides. Again, this is the 21st year that we would be applying for this, and it is a very valuable program and very valuable to the community for the control of the West Nile virus. I don't have any further comments, but if you do have any technical questions, I do have our mosquito control expert, Hunter Dearman, here, if you have any questions from either him or I. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Bork. Questions, Councilor O'Doherty.
Does the matching part of the grant, our part of the grant, does that come from completely from that enterprise fund, or does it have to be supplemented by general fund?
It would be coming completely from our fund.
Thank you. Further questions? Vice Mayor Richardson.
Thank you. In looking at this, my question is, the person who is hired to do this ramp testing, I'm looking at the salary, which is $13.65 an hour. Is this a specialized kind of skill set that you need, and is $13.65 an hour enough for someone that we would need to bring on?
So with our ramp testing, Hunter Dearman.
Good evening.
For ramp testing, we do require somebody that has some skill in the lab. We do. It is a specialized position, but that's where we're starting. That's higher than what we normally start in previous years. So we have boosted up our salary this year. So.
I have a follow-up.
Follow-up.
Thank you. If you all aren't able to bring someone on at that salary level, what does that look like? I don't know if Patty can help with that. Is there a flexibility to raise that salary? This feels like a pretty important position.
So we do have provisionals who come back each year, and when they come back, we do boost that salary up. So I've got one person that I need to contact, and if he does come back, then he'll be starting out at almost 16 an hour. So they do come, yeah. But I do adjust salary based on experience.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Further questions? I open to the public. Does the public have any comments on this agenda item? Seeing none, return to council. Are there any comments before we vote?
Can I comment?
Oh, Councilor O'Doherty.
I just wanted to thank Mr. Dearman, and that his shirt says mosquitoologist, if anybody missed that, but because it's tricky identifying species. I think it comes down to like counting CT on their, anyway, it's hard work, and we appreciate them looking out for us because West Nile virus is lethal. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Further comments? No?
Oh, thank you, Mayor. No, that was my comment. It was the T-shirt. I feel like it deserves a round of applause. So
I think we all noticed it at the same time.
I would hate to have missed that. City Clerk, please call the roll.
Bowling.
Aye.
Freed, absent. Lockhart.
Yes.
Newman.
Yes.
O'Doherty.
Yes.
Shumway.
Yes.
Vigil, absent. Richardson.
Aye.
Cumby.
Aye.
That's 7 yeses, 0 nos, and 2 absent, Your Honor.
Thank you, City Clerk. That motion passes. And now we move to item 13, Budget Amendment Fire Staffing. Councilor Bowling.
I move to approve Resolution 2025-23, amending fiscal year 2025-26 biennial budget amendment in the amount of $100,000 for the purpose of supporting fire department staffing, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to sign.
Second.
I have a motion by Bowling, second by Newman.
Honorable
Good
Mayor,
evening.
members of council, thanks for your time tonight. What's before you tonight, a little history, is we've had some unanticipated vacancies in our line positions due to situations that are really out of our control right now. And voting for this resolution, this budget amendment, would support us both in 2 additional overhire positions and overtime, which we're going to have several holdovers this spring to make it into the summer. The timing of the overhires, we have a state academy that starts on March 31st, so we would be sending those 2 overhires to that. I stand for any questions.
Okay, thank you. Councilors, questions for Chief Johnson? Seeing none. Oh, sorry. Councilor Lockhart.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Chief. So they're already hired? You just have to send them to the academy?
Through you, Mayor. Yes, we did interviews about 3 or 4 days ago.
Fantastic. So, congratulations.
Next to the public, are there any public comments on this agenda item? Returning to council, any final comments? Seeing none, City Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Bowling.
Aye.
Freed, absent. Lockhart.
Yes.
Newman.
Yes.
O'Doherty.
Yes.
Shumway.
Yes.
Vigil, absent. Richardson.
Yes.
And Cumby.
Yes.
That's 7 yeses, 0 nos, and 2 absent, Your Honor.
That motion passes. Thank you, City Clerk. Next, item 14, Councilor Newman.
I move that the Laramie City Council approve Resolution 2025-24, setting an open container area in the downtown district, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to sign.
Do I have a second on that?
Second.
Motion by Newman, second by Richardson.
I think he's sending it to me. Mayor and council, the resolution before you is to set the same open container area that's been requested for several years now. No major changes to the resolution. Todd can correct me if that's incorrect. But we've received no major reports of incidents as a result of the permission to have open container during the summer months. So with that, if you have any questions, Todd Feeser and myself would be happy to answer any questions you have.
Thank you, City Clerk. Councilors, are there any questions for Mr. Feeser regarding this? Councilor Lockhart.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Feeser. I thought I read, and maybe I don't know where I saw it, it said that someone with an open container cannot take that with them through an alley. Was that correct?
Honorable Mayor, through you, that is correct.
And what is the reasoning behind that?
The intention when we first started this back in the day is that alleyways are not the place that we want people to be encouraged to walk and move through the downtown. And that's the only reason that that was set up that way.
Further questions? Councilor Newman?
I think I asked this last year, so I'm going to ask it again. And I think I asked the chief last year, the chief of police. Do you know of any fights that this causes? Is there any data with the amount of calls that could be going up during this time?
Yeah, absolutely. Honorable Mayor, through you to Councilor Newman. I actually have that discussion with the chief every time before we bring this resolution forward, and there is no data that's attributed to the open container area. The fact that the open container area really runs from 11 to 9, there is potentially stuff that may happen in the downtown after the bars close, 2 a.m., 3 a.m., but there's no way to attribute that to the open container area. From a personal note, as I'm downtown and wander around, I just don't see it contributing to that outward display that most people would think comes with an open container area. It's really pretty quiet and well-run facility, or well-run resolution in my mind.
Further questions? Councilor Shumway.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Feaser, I don't know if I've ever asked this before, but do we have a prohibition against individuals bringing their own beverages into this area, or do they all have to be purchased in the area that we've designated?
Honorable Mayor, through you to Councilor Shumway. So the intent of the resolution is to encourage it to be purchased in the downtown, absolutely. But there's no way for us to actually regulate or decide if it was hopefully purchased at a retail establishment and then brought into the downtown. I've seen people come to Laramie Lane with a cooler and spread out and have some fun, and you hope it was purchased in the downtown, or on the flip side, you hope that it encouraged them to spend some money in the downtown.
Further questions? Councilor Bowling.
Not a question, but a comment. Mayor, I can wait.
Are there any public comments on this agenda item?
Mayor, if I could make one statement.
Yes.
Clerk Bartholomew asked me to make, is it's important to understand what alcohol can be consumed in the open container area and which establishments are available to do that. And she will correct me if I get this wrong, but alcoholic beverages purchased in non-glass containers from retail liquor establishments, that's establishments that hold a retail liquor license. Microbreweries and wineries that do not have a retail liquor license associated with them only have the ability to serve their product for consumption in the open container area. After that, that's it. Yep. Whew.
Thank you. And Councilor Bowling, comment?
Public. Thank you, Mayor. I obviously have no problem supporting this, and I understand that it is as, it's the same amendment as the last few years. My personal opinion, just in terms of the stipulation about alleys, is that I'll just also point out that Laramie's downtown alleys are also home to some of our most engaging public artworks. And after summer events, whether they be Brewfest or Jubilee Days or any number of, I myself have walked visitors down those alleyways with a open container so that I can show those artworks that the city should be proud of off to visitors. And as this comes up again next year, I would consider an amendment to that in that regard. I don't think that we're probably going to end up with any real problems, but I do want to point out that, again, that those downtown alleyways are where some of our most engaging public displays of art are, and that's important. So thank you.
Thank you. And Vice Mayor?
Thank you.
You have a comment?
Two comments, if I may. The first is also as we're thinking about, and we've talked about alley activation downtown, if that does go into effect, maybe that's something we should think about as well, because if we are activating those alleys, it would also make sense to open it up there. So something to think about on that, and I don't know if that will get going yet this year, but maybe it can come back to us if that does happen. Second is, in looking at this ordinance, there's not a date on it. It just has the months, and so from my perspective, we could pass this, and then it could continue to be the ordinance that is out there until it is repealed. And I believe that is correct in checking with staff. And so then we would maybe not need to bring it forward every year. The ordinance number has it on it, but there isn't actually anything in the code.
City Clerk.
Just a minor language difference. Instead of an ordinance, this is a resolution.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Resolution, not ordinance. Thanks for the correction.
You're welcome.
Further comment?
So I have a question.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. So even though it has the dates in here, the actual ordinance does not? Or the resolution?
Boy, I really messed this up.
Did I miss that?
City Clerk.
So Mayor, through you, currently our municipal code does not refer to this open container. This has been set via resolution. And if you read in section 1, it says that running from the Thursday prior to Memorial Day through the last Sunday in October between the hours of 11 a.m. and 9 p.m. So it's that specific time frame every year. So the dates weren't added in, to be more specific to 1 year, if that makes sense.
Councilor Newman.
So this doesn't have to come back next year?
We have been bringing it back on a yearly basis in case there have been a few amendments to the map that's been provided. So for that reason, we've brought it back. The council at the time we first adopted it wasn't quite sure if this was something they wanted to continue in perpetuity. So that's part of why we've brought it back on a yearly basis.
So I think if we are considering an amendment to alleyways and we want to think about that we should consider bringing it back.
I was just going to make the motion now.
Oh, well then, would you like to make a motion?
Could I please?
Yes, you may.
So I think this would be on the resolution, section 2, just striking out the last 4 lines, or permitted, no, just the last 2, excluding alleyways.
Second.
So just striking out the excluding alleyways on section 2, because I think that's the only, I probably said 2 lines, so I meant last 2 words, I think is the only time it's in here.
I would second that if somebody, I can't remember if somebody has or not. Did you second it? Sorry.
I have a motion by Councilor Newman. Do I have a second?
Oh.
Yeah.
Second.
Second by Bowling. All right.
Honorable Mayor, I appreciate the approach that council's taking in the discussion and some of the stuff about the artwork. One thing that's being missed here is Chief Brown here is kind of our expert on the appropriate uses. I know Janine had told me, and I kind of feel the same way, as I'm not so sure that staff is in support of using the alleyways being activated for alcohol consumption until they're actually activated for use or encouraged use. The reason behind that is if you think about some of the alleyways that we see the most damages and some of the most stuff that happens are right next to some of the bigger establishments, and having the police officers where they have some authority of enforcement to keep the alcohol out of the alleyways to us seems to be like it's a better option at this time until we actually have some activation, and we could actually activate the alleyways that get improvements that become activated by resolution included in the process. So I think, I don't oftentimes oppose council, but in this one I actually would say that I think that I'm opposed to this kind of change.
Thank you. Are there any other comments or questions? Councilor Lockhart, then Councilor Shumway.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Fieser. I kind of agree with you until they're actually made access to, but also if we're not having any problems, because it's till 9 o'clock in the summer, it's usually light till 9 o'clock. You know, it's kind of nice to be able to, hey, I'm just going to walk this way and go down to this location, especially at a brew fest or something like that. So I can see it from both sides of the coin. But from some of these bigger establishments, I understand we don't want them congregating in the alley, drinking, you know. So I'm kind of seeing it from both sides, but I appreciate your comments.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Shumway.
First of all, a little history on this resolution. It had a rough start. It did not have very much support at the beginning. Thanks to Mr. Fieser and others that have worked on this, it's improved greatly, and it's become a area where we've increased the downtown sales. Now, as far as this alleyway thing, most of the discussion was that the vandalism and the litter and things that are disapproved by the public seem to have happened in alleyways. And so I agree that until we get alley improvements and alley designations, I think we should leave it the way it is. So I'm going to oppose the amendment to this until we can specifically take alley by alley the ones that would be a good addition to this resolution.
Councilor Bowling.
Thank you, Mayor. Pardon me. I don't know why that keeps happening every time I turn my mic on. And thank you, Mr. Fieser. Just to clarify, you know, my original comment was that I would like to see this be discussed kind of moving forward. I'm happy to second a motion when it's made. I'm happy to walk back on that motion. And I do think it's a really good point that, you know, this needs to be a discussion with the police chief. My original comment was just because I felt like, you know, that's a cultural oversight on our part. And so that should be a part of our discussion. As this comes back up next year, I don't foresee it being a problem in the summer of 2025, so.
The Honorable Mayor, if I could add one more.
Yes.
That was brought forward by Councilor Shumway, but the original intent of this ordinance was about driving economic diversity and getting more expenditures in the downtown. And I think one of the other reasons that we suggested that we stay out of the alleyways is there's no business opportunity in the alleyways. We want people to be out in front of businesses walking by and potentially buying a pair of flip-flops. I'm sure you've all heard that story before, but that's what we're really hoping to do, and that's one of the other reasons that we'd like to stay out of the alleyways and encourage people to be in the fronts of the buildings.
Councilor Newman.
I agree with everything, so I'm going to vote no as well.
Would you like to withdraw your amendment?
So
I think I could.
after it's been brought to the table, it takes a majority vote to withdraw the motion.
So whether we vote no. But if this doesn't come back, I think we should add the date, the 2025 to the end of October. So I'll make that after this motion. Because if not, it doesn't have to come back.
And I just want to say there are a number of initiatives going on among various groups in town, from Laramie Downtown to Laramie Public Art to Laramie Beautification Committee, that are looking at the alleys and are looking to identify the top potential alleys to refurbish, put lights in, greenery, things like that. And I think at the time that we do that, it would afford us an opportunity to reconsider. But I personally will vote against this at this point in time. Let me open it up to the public. Is there any public comment on this amendment? Seeing none, back to council. Any final comments? City Clerk, if you can please call the vote.
Bowling.
This is on the amendment.
Correct.
No.
On the amendment.
No.
Freed, absent. Lockhart.
No.
Newman.
No.
O'Doherty.
No.
Shumway.
No.
Vigil, absent. Richardson.
No.
Cumby.
No.
That's 0 yeses, 7 noes, and 2 absent, Your Honor.
Counselor Newman, you have a motion?
Sure. So I would like to make an amendment on section 1, have it read the same thing all the way down to the last Sunday in October, and put 2025 there. That way it has to go, I can't discuss.
I'll second that.
I have a motion by Newman, second by O'Doherty. Is there any discussion or questions on this? Counselor Newman?
This is just so it has to come back, because it technically doesn't. So I'm glad you brought that up.
Vice Mayor?
Were comments and questions both, sorry?
At this point, I'm combining both.
Thank you. I'm comfortable with it not coming back, and just because it has worked for 5 years, we haven't had any issues with it keeping this way. And if we decide that these alley activations we need to revisit to think about the alley activations, then we can bring it back. But this way, it is just something that the public knows will continue from May to whenever that I can't, September, October, and then we aren't revisiting it every year. If the chief says there are more issues, we are seeing problems with downtown, with things getting a little wild, then we bring it back and reevaluate at that point.
Councilor Lockhart.
Thank you, Mayor. And I can see your point, Councilor Richardson, but then are we going to remember next year if there is designated alleyways, are we going to remember to amend this? That's the thing. Are we going to bring it back up? Or is it going to, we forget it, and then, so if we do put an expiration date on it, it reminds us next year, we can have a quick discussion on it. And we already spoke about it once. So I like that for that reason. It reminds us to do it again. The only reason, because I don't want to forget about it if there's designated areas and then it's too late.
Thank you. Further question, comment? Seeing none, any public comment on this amendment to add 2025? Seeing none, back to council for any final comment. City Clerk, can you please call the vote on the amendment to add 2025 to this document after the month of October?
Bowling.
Aye.
Freed, absent. Lockhart.
Yes.
Newman.
Yes.
O'Doherty.
Yes.
Shumway.
Yes.
Vigil, absent. Richardson.
Yes.
Cumby.
Yes,
That's 7 yeses, 0 noes, and 2 absent, Your Honor.
that motion passes. So,
Original motion as amended.
as amended. So now we need to go to the original motion. All right? So on the original motion as amended, is there any further question or comment? Any public comment? Back to council. City Clerk, please call the vote.
Bowling.
Aye.
Freed, absent. Lockhart.
Yes.
Newman.
Yes.
O'Doherty.
Yes.
Shumway.
Yes.
Vigil, absent. Richardson.
Yes.
Cumby.
Aye.
That's 7 yeses, 0 noes, and 2 absent, Your Honor.
Okay, that motion passes. Now, I've noticed Director Wade has had her hand up.
No, that's the mouse. No,
That's the mouse? Oh, okay, good. It's been sitting in the same place, so it looked like her hand was up. Our next item, Vice Mayor Richardson.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve original ordinance number 2096 on third and final reading, amending Laramie Municipal Code, Chapter 13.44, related to low-income affordable municipal service rates, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to sign.
Do I have a second? O'Doherty. I have a motion by Richardson, second by O'Doherty. Director Wade, welcome.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council members. I would appreciate a thumbs up just to know that you can hear me okay.
Can you see us? We can hear you.
Good, I'm glad. Great. I'm sorry I can't join you this evening. I've been feeling a little under the weather. But you'll remember from our work session just last week that we discussed the low-income municipal services rate ordinance in depth together. And you settled on an amendment by substitution for staff's initial recommendation for this ordinance, which includes the following provisions. I just want to go over these provisions quickly as a matter of the public record before I open up for questions. Last week, you directed staff to keep the existing credit of $37.58 while adding a surface water drainage fee credit of $3.20. You directed staff to expand program access to no longer require enrollment in a federal program and to change the income qualification to the same as Wyoming's low-income energy assistance program standards, which is 60% of the state median income based on household size. We have elected to retain ordinance changes that clarify meaning, including clearly defining eligible households. As you'll recall, this ordinance hasn't been updated since 2013 or 2014. I don't remember that exactly, but for a while. And so that cleanup language is there, but it doesn't change the meaning of the ordinance. And we also removed staff's recommendation for the automatic credit adjustment, given that we are expanding program access dramatically. And so with that summary, I'm happy to answer any final questions you may have on this ordinance or the amendments by substitution.
Thank you, Director Wade. Council members, questions for Director Wade? Seeing none at this time, public comment on this agenda item. Seeing none. Back to council. Are there any final comments? Councilor Bowling.
Thank you, Mayor. And very quickly, just another round of thanks to Director Wade and to city staff for a very thorough work session last week. This is a hard decision to make, and our job is, again, to try and do the most good for the most people, knowing that you have to make tough decisions. And I want to just commend and thanks city staff for their diligence in making that possible. So thank you.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Richardson.
Thank you. I would echo that. And then also just a quick question. Do we need to move the amendment for the okay. I would be happy to make that motion. I move to amend by substitution original ordinance number 2096 with original ordinance 2096A.
Second.
We have a motion by Richardson, second by Bowling. Any discussion on that? Is there any public comment on that amendment by substitution? Seeing none, back to council. Any comments? Councilor Newman.
So I am going to approve this, but I think going forward, when we make so many amendments, we should probably deny the first one and bring this back again. And I know that adds time to the readings, but so much has changed since the very first reading. I don't know if the public actually kept up with it, but for this one, I'm going to approve it. But forward, I don't know if I would.
Vice Mayor Richardson.
Thank you. And Councilor Newman, to your point, I appreciate that comment because I think typically bringing this much on third reading is not the way to go, and not something I would have, I think it came to me late in the game. And so, again, I would like to be more on top of it and hope that doesn't occur in the future. I think all of it came at once in that third and final reading, and having that postponement to go over it was a really responsible way to do it. And I would assume moving forward, someone like me would not bring this all forward on the third reading. So,
Councilor O'Doherty.
For the public's sake, I feel like Director Wade explained what the difference is and what we originally had proposed, because we're expanding the number of people that are eligible to apply for this, so then we couldn't keep the rate, the savings as much, because then we couldn't afford that. So I'm comfortable with this, but yeah, it would have been good to do it at the second reading. Thank you.
Further comment? I just want to thank Director Wade and all of staff, and also the Vice Mayor for working with Director Wade and staff and bringing this up and thinking through how few people we had utilizing any type of break, and thinking of them, wondering why, and doing something where maybe those in need, it can be expanded to make a difference. So thanks to all of you very much. Without further, could we have a vote, please?
The roll call on the amendment by substitution. Bowling.
Yes.
Freed, absent. Lockhart.
Yes.
Newman.
Yes.
O'Doherty.
Yes.
Shumway.
Yes.
Vigil, absent. Richardson.
Yes.
Cumby.
Yes.
That's 7 yeses, 0 nos, and 2 absent, Your Honor.
And then we go back to the main amendment. So, back on the main motion, are there any final comments? Councilor Newman?
Just wanted to echo the appreciation for city staff. I know we had a very large discussion and a lot of ideas, so I'm glad that with the help of the Vice Mayor and everybody on council that we could get this passed.
Are there any public comments before we go to this vote? Yes, Mr. Henderson. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you. Just as a matter of procedure, with respect to paragraph 3, when public make comment online, they're required to have their photo enabled. I would assume that the same would be expected for city staff or anyone else, for the record, being on camera and visible. I thank Director Wade for her testimony, but I would ask that for public record, there is that visibility, same as required for the public. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Henderson, and we do adhere to your comment, but every now and then if someone is sick, then we might excuse them from that, but typically that is expected, but I appreciate your comment on that. Further? Back to council. City Clerk, call the vote, please.
Bowling.
Yes.
Freed, absent. Lockhart.
Yes.
Newman.
Yes.
O'Doherty.
Yes.
Shumway.
Yes.
Vigil, absent. Richardson.
Yes.
Cumby.
Yes.
That's 7 yeses, 0 nos, and 2 absent, Your Honor.
Thank you, City Clerk. That motion passes. Item 16, Councilor Lockhart.
I move to approve original ordinance number 2100 on second reading, annexing approximately 15.79 acres of property located in unincorporated Albany County, located off of Hilltop Drive and adjacent to the municipal boundary on all sides, based on findings of fact and conclusions of law.
Second.
I have a motion by Lockhart, second by O'Doherty. Good evening, Ms. Dixon.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council. As stated, the item before you this evening is the annexation request for the Hilltop parcel. This parcel is owned by Wilco Land, LLC of South Dakota and represented by Tom Willis, and it is currently an unincorporated county island surrounded by the city of Laramie. Now, before I get further into the staff report, I do want to be transparent that the owner reached out this morning to request that staff recommend postponement. On March 6th, they requested water modeling data which engineering provided on either the 13th or 14th and is now desiring additional information. Since planning staff is directed by state statute, city code, the comprehensive plan, and the health and safety of current and future residents of Laramie, along with timing, staff is still recommending approval. However, once the staff presentation is completed, I will turn it over to the owner for any request or comment. Now, diving back into the annexation, the attached staff report compiles all received written public comment in the full annexation report. A written public comment was also received on Monday, which was routed out to City Council for review, and I believe that the person also came in person here tonight as well. At the Planning Commission meeting, that there were 4 people in support of the annexation and 2 comments in support of the rezoning. Wyoming State Statute 15-1-406D prohibits the creation of county islands, and this annexation ensures compliance with state law and supports effective city planning with additional oversight if development does occur on this property versus if it was left in the county. Due to the lesser population density within the county, county development standards are much less rigorous than the city of Laramie's, and there are no building permits required. This annexation would ensure that if any future development were to occur, it would be held to City of Laramie code instead of county code. Albany County Planning is also in support of this annexation, as it is surrounded by the city on all sides. The City of Laramie prepared the annexation report, which is compiled to meet Wyoming state statute requirements, which we outlined in part last reading. If annexed, any future development will have reasonable access to city services, including water, sewer, garbage, recycling, mosquito control, and emergency services. The applicant is currently working with the City Engineering Office on water modeling and had a meeting with city staff about land use possibilities. To clarify, though, no development application has been received from staff at this point in time. Financially, the parcel shifts from Tax District 101 to 150, increasing annual property taxes from $600 to $647 based on 2024 values. The estimated development costs are detailed in the staff report, but keep in mind that since no development has been submitted, these numbers would need to be revisited. A proposal of the development of 1 home versus 29 homes significantly influences requirements. We have received new comments relating to the history of the area. The proposed R1 zoning does allow for inclusion of open space or community parks. However, specific conditions cannot be imposed on the annexation or rezoning, and this would be more appropriate during the preliminary and final plat phase, which would occur if more than 1 home was proposed to be built on that parcel. This is when the subdivision design, lot layout, and open space designations are reviewed. So overall, City Council, again, it's a very unique circumstance, as this is kind of a rare county island within the city, and it affords the opportunity to meet Wyoming state statute and to protect existing and future landowners through regulatory oversight if any development is proposed. The public concerns brought this evening can only be addressed if the property is annexed due to county regulations. Last week, I went over most of the statutory findings and how they relate to this property, and addressed common questions that we had received from the public. I'm happy to go back over either the statutory findings, public concerns, or both, but I will leave that up to your discretion. Once we go over questions and any additional information about the above 2 items, I would like to turn it over to the owner of the property who is with us via Zoom. Thank you, Honorable Mayor and City Council.
Thank you, Ms. Dixon. So, City Clerk, are you going to bring the owner in?
Hello?
Not very well.
Can you guys hear
I
me?
can't hear him, and,
Yeah, we can.
oh, there you go. Good evening.
Hello. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, council members. And I appreciate the opportunity to speak this evening. My name is Tom Willis, and I'm the applicant. And first, I want to say thank you to Emma and the rest of the planning staff for their work on this annexation and responsiveness to some of our questions that we've been asking over the last couple of weeks. And while I fully support the annexation and believe that it does align with the city's long-term plans, I do have some unresolved concerns, specifically around the water modeling results and the potential for significant off-site infrastructure, including a booster pump to serve this property.
So at this stage, I still don't have enough clarity on the specifications, costs, or who will ultimately bear, the financial responsibility for that infrastructure. As you can imagine, these are critical factors, not only for the feasibility of development on this land, but also for making sure everybody involved is on the same page moving forward. So out of respect for this process and to ensure that we're all making informed decisions, I'd like to respectfully request that the council consider postponing the third reading, which I believe is scheduled for April 1st, to May 1st. So move it back a month, so that we can get some more detailed information from Public Works and the city on water infrastructure requirements and costs. So I believe, a short delay now will allow us to work together through these questions and avoid potential issues down the road that could affect, the property, the community, the city in the future. So thank you again for your time and consideration, and happy to answer any questions you might have.
Councilors, questions? Councilor O'Doherty.
I'm curious about the water pump. Is that to get pressure to the houses, or is it for fire suppression to any future development there?
Mayor, through you, engineering is currently out on spring break, so they could not be here this evening. To my understanding, though, and I'm happy to follow up with them, is that would be the required water pressure to service a maximum of 29 dwelling units, along with the equivalent fire suppression that would be required, as those two go hand in hand.
Further questions? Councilor Newman?
This is for city staff, I would assume, because I haven't lived here that long. How long has this been an island? And maybe I missed it in the report.
150
years. Mayor, through you, it should have likely been brought into the city in the 1970s when that last subdivision was brought in. However, it was not, and so city staff is working to rectify that now.
Thank you. Further questions?
Just a follow-up.
Follow-up, please.
Would 1 month really hurt for a postponement on third reading if it's been this way since 1970? In my opinion, no, and that's my comment.
Councilor Bowling.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Ms. Dixon. Just to sort of reiterate what Councilor Newman said, it doesn't seem to me that that this changes the fact that we want to annex this property and zone it the way that we want to in order to be able to have control over its development. A postponement doesn't change that. If it does offer some peace of mind and some clarity to the landowner of which we're trying to partner with, and also build a good relationship with, so we can have ongoing conversations about what that community development looks like, especially when it comes to some of our community concerns around green space, wildlife, et cetera, then, I mean, a postponement for a month does not, it does not strike me to be an issue.
Councilor Lockhart.
Thank you, Mayor. Ms. Dixon, quick question, and we've talked about this quite a bit, so I just wanted some clarity because I was also at the Planning Commission meeting with Mr. Willis. In regards to drainage, if it's annexed, is there anything that needs to be done immediately, or only upon development is that got to be rectified?
Honorable Mayor, through you, since stipulations cannot be put on the annexation, and since it is not changing that historical runoff amount, drainage would be addressed when development were to occur.
Just clarifications, thank you.
Any further questions? Vice Mayor?
Thank you. The question that the applicant brought up just regarding the water modeling results, what would our next steps, or perhaps the applicant's next steps, I don't know enough about this process, be to kind of go back and look at that?
Honorable Mayor, through you, that is primarily going to be between the owner and the engineering department. However, the reason why city staff recommended approval this evening, besides applying with state statute and city code, is because this is starting to also get into development questions regarding how many houses, number, whereas the question for the annexation was if it should be annexed or stay within the county. So that's where we come from, but also we understand too with the postponement.
Okay, further question, Councilor Newman? No.
She might be answering my question, so.
Yes, City Clerk.
Thank you, Mayor. Right now, tonight, our motion on the floor is for second reading. So typically, we would postpone second reading. However, in talking with our city attorney, you could amend the motion that's on the floor and just add a little tag at the end that says, and schedule third reading for May 1st. So we're not technically postponing third reading because it's not on the floor yet, but we are moving it back to May 1st.
Would someone like to make that?
I have a comment about that.
Comment, please.
Before I made the motion.
Point of order. Yeah.
Well, it's not on the actual motion, so my comment would be, I just spoke against this of postponing something, so I would rather postpone this reading for 2 weeks out, which moves third reading 2 weeks out, correct? Which would do the same thing. That way, if there are big changes like we just did in the last motion, we're not doing them on third reading. So I would make a motion to postpone second reading for 2 weeks, and I don't know what that date is, I guess, April 1st?
April 1st, yeah.
Which would move third reading out.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? I have a second by O'Doherty. Motion by Newman to postpone second reading for 2 weeks. Any questions or discussion on that, please? City Attorney, please.
I'm a little lost. If we move second reading 2 weeks, does that get third reading in the right spot? No.
No, it doesn't, yeah. So would I add that to the end of my motion if I don't?
So,
No, there was.
you could change your postponement date to April 15th, which would then put third reading on that May 6th date.
I would move to do that if my second was okay with it.
Yes.
Sorry, my math was not mathing.
Do we have that clear now? So postpone second reading till April 15 and third reading till May 1. Is that correct?
Sorry, my math didn't math.
Thank you. Further question or comment? Councilor Shumway.
Thank you, Mayor. My question is going to be this, because this is something I'm going to be very interested in. It's been brought up about water solutions and also water runoff. I want to know ballpark, or at least an idea of what the commitment the city is going to put forward as far as water solutions, and also what's going to be required of the applicant. That's going to be something that we have not really discussed in depth, and I'd like to at least get an idea of what we're going to do with what's being applied. Now, once it's starting to be platted for the additional residential units, then of course this discussion can come back. But I want to just know what the water solutions are for it in its historical with one house on the property. And if it's going to be more than that, that's going to be required. I want to know that before we go forward with this. I figure if we've waited over 100 years, we can wait another month or so to come up with all the answers to the applicant, because I believe he deserves that.
Thank you. Further questions or comments? Seeing none, are there any comments from the public on this agenda item? Back to the council for final. For the motion to postpone. City Clerk, call the roll, please.
Bowling.
Yes.
Freed, absent. Lockhart.
Yes.
Newman.
Yes.
O'Doherty.
Yes.
Shumway.
Yes.
Behill, absent. Richardson.
Yes.
Cumby.
Yes.
That's 7 yeses, 0 nos, and 2 absent, Your Honor.
Thank you, City Clerk. That motion passes. Item 17, Councilor Lockhart.
May I make a comment about this?
Yes, you may.
Since we're moving this second reading to April 15th, shouldn't we postpone? Can I make a motion to postpone this?
Yes, I think that would be in order. Yes.
We have to have it on the floor, a motion on the floor before we can
Before
postpone.
we can amend.
This first? Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Okay. So I move to approve original ordinance number 2100. Is that correct? Am I on the right one? 2101. Okay. Sorry, I'm on the wrong one. On second reading, establishing the R1 single-family residential zoning districts for an annexed property approximately 15.79 acres in size, located off of Hilltop Drive, adjacent to the municipal boundary on all sides, in accordance with findings of fact and conclusions of law.
Second.
Motion by Lockhart. Oops. Motion by Lockhart, second by Newman. Question, Mr. Newman?
I'm going to make a motion to postpone.
Yes. Continue.
I would like to make a motion to postpone original ordinance 2101 is this second reading? Okay. Second reading till April 15th and move third reading to May 1st.
Second.
I have a motion by Newman, second by Bowling. Questions or comments? City Clerk? Oh, are there any public comments on this motion to postpone item 17? City Clerk, if you can please call the roll.
Bowling.
Aye.
Freed, absent. Lockhart.
Yes.
Newman.
Yes.
O'Doherty.
Yes.
Shumway.
Yes.
Behill, absent. Richardson.
Yep. Yes.
Cumby.
Yes.
That's 7 yeses, 0 nos, and 2 absent, Your Honor.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right. Item 18, Councilor Bowling.
I move to approve original ordinance number 2103 on first reading, amending Laramie Municipal Code 10.36 regarding limited parking zone restrictions and snow emergency routes.
Second.
I have a motion by Bowling, second by Newman. Good evening, Director Webb.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. The two items, the two codes that we're looking at tonight both have to do with snow removal operations and parking during snow removal operations. Tonight, Shane Johnson, our street manager, is here with us. So if we've got any questions I can answer on an operational basis, he can help us. Shane's been with us as the street division manager for, I think, just over 12 years now. Yeah. So he's pretty familiar with the operations and what we're doing. So on Laramie Municipal Code 10.36120, limited parking zone restrictions. This has to do with the downtown area, and where, if you see the signs down there, we limit the parking on Tuesdays, Mondays and Tuesdays, 2 to 6 for snow removal. We are proposing to change that from Monday and Tuesday to Wednesday and Tuesday and Wednesday. Some of the reasons for that is that on Monday, staff gets in on Monday, And then they need time to plan for that snow removal. They need time to notify the public if we're going to no park that area. Also, our street staff works a 4-10 schedule, so some of the staff aren't there on Monday, some of the staff aren't there on Friday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We have full street staff. Also, normally Monday morning, if there was a snow event, the first thing our guys are doing in the morning is making sure that intersections and areas around schools are salted and cleared. And so getting to the downtown area on Monday is pretty unfeasible for us. And to be honest with you, we haven't done it on Monday in years. We do it on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, sometimes on Thursdays. The other change there in section A, where it says, it used to say, as in city manager or designee judgment may be necessary for sign locations. We're requesting to change that to as determined by the city engineer. We don't normally place signs in the right of way just based on judgment. It's usually an engineering standard, engineering decision. And then lower in that section in B3, we're requesting to change that, the notice that's given to the public from local radio or newspaper to a city press release to local media. That way we cover all local media, not just the newspaper, not just the radio. We have a lot of folks like Laramie Live and things like that also that's on our media list that when we send press releases out to. So those are other than some grammatical stuff, those are the items that we're recommending on 10.36.120 for the limited parking zones. Do you have any questions on that before I move to the next section?
Any questions, councilors? Councilor Lockhart.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Director Webb. On the city press release to local media, is that going to include the social media page for the city of Laramie? Since most people rely on that over some of the other items that are available out there.
Sure, Mayor, through you. We didn't put that in here, but that is our normal practice. It would be on the social media, the Facebook page that the city has, and then also on our news flashes we do on our regular website up front. Yep.
Further questions, Councilor Newman.
What is the plan if this does get approved and somebody somehow didn't see our communications and thinks it's Monday to Tuesday, but they get towed on a Wednesday? Will city work with them on this if they really didn't know? Because I know some people don't read our press.
Sure. Yeah, Mayor, Council, the first thing we have to do is change the signs downtown, and Shane's got a plan for that. But also, I'm just going to tell you, we haven't towed a car in 12 years at least downtown. We got really good operators that just work around them. That press release is just to really, for us, is to get that information out to the public and get those cars removed for the people that do see it, right? The less cars that are there, absolutely easier operation for us. But if somebody doesn't see the press release and their car's there, we're not going to tow it. We're going to work around it.
Further questions? Are there any public comments on this agenda item?
Yeah, Mayor,
Director Webb.
if I could move on
you
to
have the second half.
The
Go
second
ahead.
section, yeah. So 10.36.220 is the snow emergency route section. We have snow emergency routes designated throughout the city. And in our operations plan, which is in your materials, there's a map there that shows that route. And those emergency routes is really, if you think about it, it's 30th, it's Grand, it's 3rd, it's Reynolds, Snowy Range. That's the emergency routes. So those are the first routes that we're hitting every time so that emergency services can get through there. That covers the hospital, that covers the police station, and it covers, I think, all of the fire departments. So, out in the school areas. So those are our snow emergency routes. Again, in that section, we open that up to a bigger media release. Currently, it just says announcements to the local radio station. We would open that up as a press release to all media. Later in the document, really just some cleanup where in section D there, we're requesting a change where it currently says the council may from time to time adopt and amend a snow and operational plan. We're recommending the change to the city manager designee would adopt and amend that plan as needed. This is an operational plan. It's not a public policy decision necessarily. It's an operational plan that is sometimes could be changed twice a year if need be. The plan also allows the street manager some authority to make changes on the fly during the middle of a snow event, snow operation. Those are really the substantive changes, I believe, on both of the codes. And that is what we're voting on tonight. But I did want to just touch on some changes that we're looking at in the operational plan. And on page 3 of the operational plan is really where those changes are, and is what they mostly affect is the downtown area. Currently, our practice was a couple years ago that we would plow the snow to the center of the road. And then we would, when we had time, when we had the staff, when we had contractors available, we would remove the snow from the center of the road. Is what we have found in the last couple of years is that we can more efficiently with less staff and quicker if we push that snow to the outside and then pile it, push it down to basically the no parking zone near the radius at the end of the road. We can bring our own trucks in, load it up and get it out. We've done that twice this year. It's worked out great. We've been in and out of there the same day. We've got some really good feedback from a couple of the downtown businesses doing that. We sent some information out to downtown Laramie, and I know they discussed it last night at the DDA meeting. A couple of the concerns they had was first. Let me go back with the ordinance. Was that they said, well, there's a lot more businesses closed on Monday than there is on Wednesday, right? And my response is, we're out of there before those businesses open. It doesn't matter what day it is, right? We're there at 3 in the morning clearing the snow. So by the time those businesses come in, we're done and we're out of the way anyway. One of the other questions they had was, if you push it down to the end of the road, are you going to block ADA? Are you going to block crosswalks? And of course, we're not going to do that. And if we do, it's because we're removing it right then immediately. So that's the change that we've already done. We just want to reflect that in our operations plan. The other thing you'll see in the operations plan are all the maps near the back. Shows all of our snow routes and how we plow those arterial and collector roads right off the bat. We're opening up two lanes of travel. That's our first thing we're going to do. And then we have our snow 1, snow 2, snow 3 routes, and our guys all work off of these. We've got GPS on all the trucks. Shane makes sure all those roads are getting hit, and we go through that. So if there's any questions on any of this, throw them at me, and we'll go for it. I don't want to make sure we don't confuse the issue that the operations plan is not what we're voting on. We're voting on the ordinance changes.
Thank you for that clarification, Director Webb. Councilors, Vice Mayor Richardson.
Thank you. And my questions are in relation to the operations plan, just the clarification pieces. So I don't know if you would like, do you want me to address those now, or do you want to work on because we're not voting on that, so I'm not sure how you'd like me to proceed.
I think we should stick with the piece that we're voting on now,
Great.
if that's okay. Yes, Councilor Lockhart.
Thank you, Mayor. And this isn't a question, it's just a comment, Director Webb. If you look at the snow emergency routes, 1036220, very minor, but I'm kind of type A. under B, every place else you capitalize C and capitalize M, and then you did not do that there. So let's catch that, so it doesn't have to be redone.
Yeah, Mayor, through you, I actually didn't catch any of those on the first one. Nancy caught those for me. So we'll get that on this next one for sure.
Thank you.
Use your pen.
Any further questions or comments, both at this time? Councilor Newman.
I have a comment then. I would like to see if we could reach out to some more of the downtown businesses to see if we can get some comment from them, just to see if they like the change, if they don't, and to make sure that they understand that most likely there won't be any interference with their business. But I would like to see if we could reach out to some more down there.
Thank you. And I think you laid out pretty well the difficulties with a Monday morning and people coming in and being prepared, and that Monday gives them time to do essential preparation so that Tuesday and Wednesday go very efficiently. So,
Mayor, Mayor, and if I could add, I don't think the folks downtown are really going to see any difference. This is what we've been doing. We're just trying to get everything in line to with what we're doing, right? We have reached out to the DDA, we have reached out to downtown, but I agree, we still need to get more information out, and we'll do that. We'll do that. As far as the changes in the ordinance, they're not going to notice any change there. The real change that they might notice is that plowing to the side instead of the big windrow down the middle of the street.
City Manager, you had a comment.
Just to piggyback on that, Council, remember you have 3 readings of an ordinance. That is an opportunity in addition to what we've done to commission input from Main Street and from the Downtown Development Authority. This is where that can happen. So I'd encourage you, if you think they have comments on the ordinance, that's fine. But I want to reiterate what Brooks has said. This is a practice that we've had in place for years in terms of the operational plan. And the new structure of windrowing, we've already fielded unsolicited praise from a couple of the downtown businesses. So if we can help beyond normal publication of 3 ordinances, we will, but I mean, this is why we have you guys, right? It's to help with that.
Thank you, City Manager. Vice Mayor?
Thank you. And just to kind of reiterate, the Downtown Development Authority did meet yesterday. They appreciated this idea of moving things to that yellow, and having it scooped up. Their only comment was, there are some areas that if there stays piled in the area, they have some flooding in some of those buildings down there, but it sounds like that's being moved pretty quickly after it's moved to those corner spaces, so they appreciated the plan.
Councilor Lockhart.
Thank you, Mayor. Director Webb, here's a question. We're talking you come in on Monday, make a plan, and then hit it. But what if the storm hits late Friday? Do you guys wait till Monday to do this still?
Yeah.
Or is there anybody that comes in and? Sure,
Mayor, through you, I'll give you an example. The last decent storm we had this year, I don't know what we had, 6-8 inches or something. That snowfall started late Thursday night, early Friday morning. Our guys got called in by PD. I think it was 4 or 5 in the morning on Friday. They worked all day Friday. They worked all day Saturday, clearing lanes. Okay, we gave them Sunday off. So when they came back in Monday, is what they were doing was hitting intersections, school zones, and then Tuesday they were downtown clearing the snow. Yeah.
Councilor Doherty.
Yeah, I think the point is that being able to sign the area that don't have your cars parked here on Tuesday and Wednesday is what's going to change, and then they don't have to work around cars on Wednesday, so I think that, yeah, we're covered there.
City Manager.
If I could just make one more staff comment, Council, before you vote. I'm really pleased to see that we've been able to accommodate this change in how that snow is collected. I think that in terms of keeping the public right-of-way, so those travel lanes and the parking areas up against the curb clean, this is a superior change in our practice. But I want to point out to you all, and I hope that as you speak with the community, you'll convey this in particular to our downtown business and property owners. We are asking them to shovel snow to these piling areas as well, right? It is actually forbidden under city ordinance to shovel snow into the gutter, basically, or into the street, but it is a common practice, not just in the downtown, but in every part of town. The reasons for that, of course, is when you shovel snow to the curb, you're causing ice buildup and snow buildup, and that can make it very treacherous for cars to get parked or get out of those parking spots, but also, more importantly, for people to get in and out of cars there and not slip and fall. And I know you've all heard those things. So we're hoping that this change will be positive, and that we'll also see a change in the shoveling behavior on the sidewalks that those business and property owners are responsible for. Well, they'll push that snow to those piling areas so we can get it out of the downtown and it doesn't accumulate there and turn into ice.
Thank you, City Manager. Is there any public comment? Seeing none. Any final comments from council? Councilor O'Doherty?
I just want to say how grateful I am to Shane and the crew, because I did notice a difference this winter, and every time I see all that ice build up in the gutter and how it just, when we get the warming and then the freezing and how dangerous it is. So I really appreciate having a designated place to put snow and to be able to sign it so that people don't have their cars down there on those days would be really helpful. So thank you.
And just to reiterate, I thank you too. I continue to appreciate your proactive approach to so many things with Public Works. Thank you very much. All right, City Clerk, if you can call the roll, please.
Bowling.
Yes.
Freed, absent. Lockhart.
Yes.
Newman.
Yes.
O'Doherty.
Yes.
Shumway.
Yes.
Behill, absent. Richardson.
Yes.
Cumby.
Yes.
That's 7 yeses, 0 nos, and 2 absent, Your Honor.
Thank you, City Clerk. That item passes. Item 19, are there any public comments on non-agenda items? Seeing none. Councilors, any considerations of future council work sessions? Yes, Councilor Lockhart.
Thank you, Mayor. I've had quite a few community members come up to me, and you and I spoke about this the other day, about the current trailer / camper / boat parking and not being upheld. Supposed to be one parked in front of, adjacent to their property, and that's it. But there's many in town that are maybe in front of an area that doesn't even have a residence. But also I'd like to discuss is, like, if there's a camper out there and it's November through April, I mean, it seems to be a kind of a point of contention between a lot of residents about the property values and the scenery. So I'd like to maybe discuss some different options that maybe we can do for the community to improve either making sure the ordinance is followed and or maybe changing it. I think it's worthy of discussion. And I know they're doing it in Cheyenne, and I know it was a big point of contention.
I want clarification.
Yes.
You want a work session on our current ordinance?
Yes.
And how to make it better?
Yes.
I will second
There you
that.
go.
All right, so we have a work session and a second. Thank you very much. I would like to see that too. I really, in my district, there are just campers everywhere, and I run through red lights or stop signs because I can't see them because the trailer's so big, and I think it deserves the conversation. Thank you. Huh? Low-income student housing, right. So, item 21, Counselor O'Doherty.
I move to adjourn to executive session regarding litigation, Wyoming Statute 16-4-405, lowercase a, Romanet 3.
I second that.
Okay, motion by O'Doherty, second by Lockhart. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That motion passes. We are adjourned.